What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the Rantin Review Pro Wrestling, and we are covering one of our favorite times of the year. It is the G1 Climax. It is taking place over in New Japan Pro Wrestling for the next 4 weeks. The most grueling and most entertaining tournament in all of wrestling, and we are going to catch up with where we are. The tournament just started the other night on July the 19th, and the blocks have been divvied up pretty well. Again, this year, not a lot of fluff, no C block, D block, no super extra stuff. It's just straight into the tournament, and the first 2 nights were full of tournament matches. And I'm going to give you the highlights. I'm going to give you the breakdown. If you haven't seen my G1 coverage before, at the end of every video, I do the point totals and show you where everybody's standing at right now. This early in the tournament, it's not that important, but by this time next week, it will be significant. So the first night, Yoshihashi takes on Shingo Takagi. An amazing surprise ending to this one. Yoshihashi, of all people, beats Shingo Takagi. He's been tough for Shingo to beat before, but here in the G1 on the first night, the first match, Shingo falling to Yoshihashi. We're starting out with surprises, and they wouldn't stop there. Unfortunately, what wasn't a surprise was the match between Evil and Callum Newman, which was your typical House of Torture match with Bad Luck Fale and Dick Togo helping Evil to get the win over young Callum. The Great O-Khan takes on Drilla Maloney. Now, Drilla is, I had another thing with him. A lot of focus is on Gabe Kidd, a lot of focus is on David Finlay. Even Clark Connors, because of that crazy match he had with El Desperado earlier in the year, got a lot of shine. But Drilla kind of in the background a little bit. But that finisher, the Drilla Killer, already in the tournament already, you're seeing this thing is a nightmare. It is going to be a problem for everybody in his block. The first person to find this out was the Great O-Khan, who got drilled with the Drilla Killer. Well, this is after in the match that Maloney did try one of Yano's old spots by tying Great O-Khan's hair to the barricade outside the rings. He tried to get a count-out victory. It didn't work, but you don't. When you got the Drilla Killer, you don't need that. That finisher is disgusting, and it's good. We're going to see a lot of it in this tournament. Yuya Uemura took on Boltin Oleg. There was an awesome reversal out of the crucifix from Boltin. Boltin showing off a lot of his strength in this tournament. He turned it into an F5. He tried to, but it got countered by Uemura with the deadbolt to get the win. Excellent match between 2 young stars in New Japan, who both of them probably will be significant over the next couple of years and will probably be more devastating members of the G1 roster as the years go on. El Phantasmo, E-L, P, that guy, ELP, took on Shota Umino. Shota Umino, his hair is grown in. He's dyed it blonde again, but the crazy wrestler I was hoping he was going to turn into was going to crack is starting to show. As in this tournament, Shota has said that he's going to show more of his emotion. He still comes with the hoodie out. He still comes to the crazy music, but he was looking kind of nutty in this match. Now, the funny thing about this is in real life, Shota and ELP are actually pretty good friends, but you wouldn't be able to tell from this match. They tore into each other. There is a win by Shota Umino, which was surprising over El Phantasmo. After he tried the second chapter finisher, he was nailing ELP with a lot of stuff. Couldn't put ELP away. It took the second chapter in order to put down the TV champion. Of course, this means that Shota Umino more than likely will have a shot at the NJPW World TV Championship against ELP in the future, depending on how many people ELP loses to, if anybody else in the tournament. David Finlay taking on Iowa. Finlay has been on a losing streak. He got decimated by the Evil and the House of Torture the last time we saw Finlay. Oyoe is back. He's the focus right now. They're trying to get him over. They're doing an okay job. I think he's got a ways to go too. He could have easily been Shota Umino if they had pushed him up to the top as they did Shota. He's in that kind of realm. But this was a surprise again on this night. Oyoe defeats Finlay, and I was pretty shocked. To Finlay, because Finlay's losing streak continues. It's a pretty bad losing streak. Kind of sad to see from the so-called leader of Bullet Club. Finlay is losing that spot day after day. Meanwhile, his most likely replacement might not be now, but the guy we would think would be his replacement as the next leader of Bullet Club, Gabe Kidd, also of the War Dogs, took on Konosuke Takeshita, a match I was absolutely looking forward to, was absolutely rewarded in this. However, Kidd did hurt his knee when Takeshita falls on her out of a botched clothesline. So they had a little bit of miscommunication. Takeshita spun around, and when he landed, imagine if your leg is out and somebody falls on it, you can get your knee hyperextended, and that's what happened to Gabe Kidd. I also think that this one insane spot where they do a reversal of a suplex over the top rope, Takeshita lands, it was Kidd who landed on the floor, then Takeshita hopped over the rope or vice versa back. You have to see that suplex spot. Gabe Kidd has done that before. It is a super dangerous spot. They pulled it off amazingly here. It ended with a brain buster on the outside by Takeshita on the Kidd. Takeshita then tried to choke out Gabe Kidd, who kept fighting and fighting and fighting until he finally passed out. He woke up like 20 seconds later and hadn't realized he lost the match, but Gabe said a lot before the match that he didn't do all this to lose to some guy who came up through DDT and AEW. Well, that's exactly what he did. Not only did he lose, he got choked out. And not only did he lose and get choked out, he got injured. And Gabe Kidd, as of right now, is out of the G1. He's most likely out of the tournament. Now, he did say, we'll catch up on this on the next night. He did say what his future in the tournament, what he would like it to be, but time will tell on that one. Yota Tsuji got the big win over Sanada. It was a quick match. Tsuji wasn't messing around with Sanada and his outfits and his shenanigans. The Gene Blaster pretty much took out Sanada, who went for the moonsault again, and it failed on him again. Zack Sabre Jr. and Ren Narita, and the surprises would keep coming. First off, the surprise is Ren Narita and how he performed in this match until the very end. Not a typical House of Torture match, and he managed to out-Sabre and beat the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion on the first night of the G1. That is an accomplishment for Ren Narita, who was supposed to be one of the Reiwa Three Musketeers, and I think, even Shooter has been a bit higher than him. Obviously, Tsuji, the leader of that class, but Narita, being in House of Torture, kind of fell back a little bit, but this is a big win for him. This is very significant because more than likely, that means that Narita is getting a World Championship match coming up in the fall. The main event is Hiroshi Tanahashi versus Taichi. Now, you may think, well, Tanahashi's the president of the company, so this is kind of messed up. But Taichi, remember, came in. He's basically replacing Hiroki Goto. Goto, I imagine, was supposed to have this match against Tanahashi in the main event. Taichi gifted a lot of main events, by the way, in this G1 so far. He did well. He did well, and he's in his home area, so there was some cheering for Taichi, a lot of cheering for Tanahashi. But you have to remember, this is also Hiroshi Tanahashi's final G1. He's retiring in January, so this is the last G1 Tanahashi's ever gonna be in. So this is a pretty significant deal here. Tanahashi does win on this night, but you have to kind of wonder how far Tanahashi's going to go and how far is Taichi, a replacement, going to go. Taichi's got a lot of fan support these days. So night number 2 starts off with the announcement, as we kind of suspected. Gabe Kidd comes out at the beginning of the show, has Chris Charlton doing the translation because he wanted the Japanese fans to know what he was saying. He expressed his disappointment. It was just a very sincere Gabe Kidd. Not a lot of his gimmicks showing here. He's obviously very disappointed. He's very disappointed. First night of the G1. He said in the promo, this was supposed to be my G1, which makes me wonder if he thought he was going to be booked to win it this year, or at least get into the finals. And you had to imagine Gabe Kidd probably would have gone really... he would have been in the playoffs. He might have wound up in the semifinals. He might have wound up in the finals the way he is right now, the star that he is. And he really wanted this. So him being out on this night and possibly the next night, he said, when I'm healed up, put me back in. Depends. It's possible he could make it in, but at what point would that be? You're forfeiting all your matches up until then. So, I would say that Gabe Kidd's probably out of the G1 this year. Shota Umino took on his buddy, Drilla Maloney. this turned into the slap championships for a minute, where the two of them just enjoyed slapping the crap out of each other. You're seeing a lot more of Psycho Shota show up in this match. That nutty side is coming through. Drilla used Gabe Kidd's finisher on Shota, but Shota kind of no-sold it. But you saw Drilla was very effective. Drilla was very effective because he did say beforehand that there were only 3 matches in this tournament he considered that were the important ones for him, and one of them was to be against Gabe Kidd. War Dog on War Dog action, which we are not going to see now. We thought we were going to see that this year. It's not going to happen. But Drilla managed to claim another one. The Drilla Killer, and this was a horrible looking fall for Shota, right on top of his head. The Drilla Killer, it worries me a bit. It's a bit of a dangerous move. Even Chris Charlton said it's the most dangerous move in wrestling, but it is a devastating finisher, and it just crushes Shota Umino. Drilla going up 2-0 in the G1. I didn't have that one on my bingo card. Hiroshi Tanahashi took on Callum Newman on this night. Callum Newman with the big surprise win here, getting a big upset over Tanahashi, which, you know, that's Tanahashi giving his stamp of approval. So whether you like Callum Newman or not, you just got the indication that he's going to be around for a while in New Japan. This is a meat match to some extent, but I saw a lot more heart shown from these two guys in this match. Oleg does get the win over Oiwa, who, again, like I said, I don't know where Oiwa is going to wind up in this tournament. It's looking like middle of the pack, but they want him to be a thing, so we'll see. Somebody else they want to be a thing for like the 19,000th time is Yoshihashi, who, after beating the IWGP champion on the first night, Ren Narita gets in here against Yoshihashi, and Yoshihashi beats Ren Narita. I kid you not. They are trying to make Yoshihashi happen again. We'll see what happens. Yoshihashi, man, give the guy credit. He's been around for a long time. They have tried to push this guy so many times, and it's like he gets to he does get up a little bit, but it's only a little bit, and then he kind of fades back into the background. Then he gets up a little bit. This has been going on for like 8 years. They've been doing this with him. But who knows? At this stage, his association with Goto finally making it, maybe Yoshihashi can get there too. Stranger things have happened. Sonata, dressed up again like a disco ball, comes down to the ring in a match that I've been waiting to see. David Finlay, after all of those shenanigans over the spring and the late winter, with Sonata turning on the War Dogs, Finlay like already, and you know the whole thing that went down with Sonata going over to House of Torture. Finlay got his revenge here. The big highlight of this is Sonata's outfit, of course, but Finlay, it was a tough match. It wasn't an easy match. At one point in time, it did look like Finlay was going to go 0-2, and you can hear Gato pretty much. You hear Gato, man, like, I backed the wrong guy. But Finlay does pull it out. He does beat Sonata, and Sonata's not going to have a great G1 as far as win-loss record, but he's probably going to have some of the most entertaining matches, and that would continue on into night 3. Great-O-Khan took on Shingo Takagi. Unexpectedly, another shocker here. The Great-O-Khan beats Shingo. I never imagined that would happen. And first off, I couldn't see Shingo going 0-2. I could see O-Khan going 0-2 to start a G1, but not Shingo. So this, again, another surprise here. And it is the first time that Shingo has ever been beaten by the Great-O-Khan. So now I think the record's 1-6, or O-Khan is 1-6 against Shingo. Yoda faced Evil here. This was a typical House of Torture match. Evil won. That's it. Konosuke Takeshita took on ELP. One of the better matches on the night. Probably the match of the night following. By the way, match of the night before was Takeshita and Gabe Kidd. Match of the night on this night, I have to give it to Konosuke Takeshita and El Phantasmo. Phantasmo showed so much heart. This is the Phantasmo we've been wanting to see for a very, very long time. He is an amazing performer. He's always had this in him. We've always seen glimmers of it, but this is probably some of the ELP in first night and then this night has been excellent in this tournament. The stuff he was kicking out of, the way he was kicking out of it was fantastic. Takeshita coming off the big win over against Gabe Kidd the night before and kind of being... I know Walker tried to run a story that Don Callis had sent Takeshita to injure everybody. you don't need to do that. We know it was a freak accident that got Gabe Kidd injured. We don't need to try to turn that into anything, especially if it's being an actual injury. I don't know, that was a little weird to me. But outside of that, this match was fantastic. You gotta watch it. Definitely recommend it. ELP had to hit like 2 or 3 of his CR2s and the Thunder Kiss 86 and this, that, and the super kick, the sudden death. He hit everything that he had, and finally ended with a CR3. And for the first time, because they've had a couple matches that were great. Well, one match that was great, one match that was okay earlier in the year. For the first time in their series, El Phantasmo has beaten Konosuke Takeshita because they went to a draw in the TV title match. So there you go. Phantasmo's biggest win. I think it's Phantasmo's biggest win in the last year, even with him winning the championship. I think this was a huge, huge statement performance by ELP. Taichi in the main event in his hometown took on Yu Uemura. Taichi is so over there. Taichi, I have to admit, I used to clown Taichi all the time, but I got to admit, man, he's come along, and Taichi got the win. His second main event this year in the G1, the first 2 nights of the G1, Taichi main eventing. I would never have guessed that in a million years. But like I said, anything can happen in the G1 Climax. Things get moving along in the tournament. Going into the next couple of nights, we had some highlights that I definitely want to mention. First off, the thing that stands out to me, Drilla Maloney, who is doing better than his compatriots and the War Dogs because Gabe Kidd is out, and Finley's win-loss record is getting pretty bad. But on this night, Drilla would not be able to execute the Drilla Killer, as again, Yoshihashi, it looks like they're making him a story, at least in week 1 of this tournament. Yoshihashi gets another win, taking down Drilla Maloney as the 2 of them came in near the top of the block. El Phantasmo and Ren Narita had a decent match. Ren Narita, who's also getting some surprise wins in this tournament. There's a lot of surprises during this first week. Narita beats El Phantasmo. Konosuke Takeshita had a harder fought match than I thought he would against the Great Okan. Takeshita does win, of course, continuing on with another 2 points for himself. And in the main event on this night, it was Shota Umino against Zack Sabre Jr. in a rematch from Wrestle Kingdom. Wrestle Kingdom main event we all kind of want to forget about. This match was better than the Wrestle Kingdom match, to be honest. And Shota comported himself well in this match. And surprise, surprise, Shota Umino gets the win over Zack Sabre Jr., who Zack has now lost 2 matches. The champions are not looking good in this tournament this year. Gabe is out, and here is Zack, who's lost 2 of his first 3 matches, and the one win he has, of course, was the forfeiture because Gabe Kidd is out. So, not going well for the champions. We then moved on back to Tokyo, and things started heating up a little bit more in the interblock competition. As Bolton Oleg and Sonata went at it, I was surprised that Bolton Oleg got the win over Sonata in this one. I thought Sonata would get something after his triumphant win over Evil, but I see something that they're doing here. They're not giving anybody any momentum. Somebody will get a big win on one night, and then the next night they're going to lose a match. Yu Uemura here, however, gets a win over Callum Newman. Callum having some troubles in this one's G1. He is the young guy in the tournament, however. Evil and Taichi, Evil is getting on my nerves, and they, again, me and a lot of fans do not like House of Torture. They are gaining momentum. There are people who are like, well, they like House of Torture. Evil, with more evil shenanigans, takes down Taichi. Again, Taichi had some big spots, and now he's kind of put on the back seat a little bit here. Yoda Tsuji and Oiwa. Again, the future of New Japan, which really at this point in time should be the present of New Japan. Tsuji dominated much of this match. Oiwa is still looking out of his depth against guys like Tsuji, like Gabe Kidd, who have already kind of gotten into the groove into the main event slot. He did lose this match to Tsuji. Tsuji is another guy who's a major favorite in the tournament. And then the thing that's kind of baffling to me, and a lot of people might have some thoughts on this one, but David Finlay faces Hiroshi Tanahashi, I believe for the first time ever in the main event, and Tanahashi goes over, remember he's the president of the company, he goes over David Finlay. David Finlay is now losing yet another match. His frustration is very evident. He had some choice words for Tanahashi after the match was over, and I'm curious, again, this does not mean that David Finlay is not going to make the playoffs. I would be surprised if he didn't. We have seen this before. In fact, Jay White, a couple years ago in the G1, lost his first 3 matches and then won out the rest of the way and wound up going to the finals. So it's not definitive now. We're going to know more coming into week 2 as to where everybody's going to wind up sitting at. On the last night, which just happened the other night, they did do a tribute in New Japan to Hulk Hogan. Of course, Hogan did wrestle several times in New Japan and in Japan in general. So Tiger Hattori and Hiroshi Tanahashi with a couple of wrestlers. Honma, of course, because Honma kind of ripped off Hogan's gimmick with Honma Mania, but they had a little moment of silence for Hulk Hogan. It was odd. In some ways, but the whole situation for Hogan is odd. You can check my video out about that, about my thoughts about that. Last night, however, Yoshihashi, the track of Yoshihashi being the thing, him going on and doing it might be over because he ran into the Great Okan, and the Great Okan took him down with the Eliminator. So Yoshihashi, again, as always, kind of hits that wall. El Phantasmo and Zack Sabre Jr. had a very good match that I enjoyed. The two of them have a lot of banter. The night before, they were mocking each other's ring attire. Zack, however, absolutely needed this win. He obviously is the world champion, and El Phantasmo is the TV champion. Zack should win this match, and he did with the Dragon Sleeper. Shota Umino took on Ren Narita. Another match here where, Shota Umino, coming off beating the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion, Ren Narita, who also got a sneaky win there. The two of these guys kind of stepping up, and the problem here is that Ren Narita has faced Umino several times before and has never, ever pinned Shota Umino. That will change on this night. A mixture of a few House of Torture things, but Ren Narita, I will say at this point, of all the people in the House of Torture, his matches irritate me the least. I guess that's a compliment. He's actually pretty damn good in the ring, and you got to see some of that against Zack, and you got to see it here against him, against Shota Umino. Ren Narita winning the match, first time getting the victory over Shota Umino. Again, this G1, a lot of surprises going back and forth. And we end week 1 with probably one of the best matches, not only of the tournament so far, but one of the best matches you're going to see this year. Shingo Takagi taking on Konosuke Takeshita. Oh my God. Takeshita coming in. They are now playing up the fact that he took out Gabe Kidd. He did use the chicken wing to make Gabe Kidd pass out. This is just match of the year contender. You got to watch this match. This is what the G1's about. You usually in the past have gotten like 3 or 4 of these in the G1, which is why it's an exciting time to watch New Japan Pro Wrestling. You're going to see some of the best matches in all of wrestling during this 4-week period. This is definitely one of them. I highly recommend you go seek it out. Shingo and Takeshita battering each other back and forth. They had a series. I think they countered each other somewhere, or at least anywhere between half a dozen to a dozen times in one sequence, where you didn't know where they were going at a certain point. And one would hit, and the other one would get up, and then he would hit, and you were like, how many blows can they take before they stop ping-ponging back and forth, wiping each other out with these clotheslines and these knees and these kicks, and another clothesline and this other knee, and he gets back up in a headbutt. And finally, after this long sequence, they finally collapsed. The crowd was just eating this up. This is a fantastic match. Takeshita does win, just like he won against Gabe Kidd, with the cross-face chicken wing. Shout out to Bob Backlund. Shingo selling it amazingly enough. Look at his eyes, look like they were about to pop out of his head as he passed out because the referee stopped the match. Takeshita takes out another one, and it does look like we are the people. I will say at the end of this right now that I think before we get into the standings, are definitely going to be moving on to the playoffs. You clearly got Takeshita the way he's been booked. You clearly got Yota Tsuji the way he's been booked. Yoshihashi's kind of out there. Shota Umino's kind of out there. The foreigners there are being booked very interestingly because, and I'm not sure what Gabe's record would have been if he was still in it, but Gabe, he's probably out. He's out of this tournament. He's not going to win his tournament at this point, even if he comes back, which I doubt that he will at this point. Zack losing 2 matches early on in the tournament. David Finlay losing the matches he lost early in the tournament. The strongest looking foreigner in the tournament right now is actually Drilla Maloney. And again, that Drilla Killer is one of the most devastating moves in wrestling. But we're going to now move on and look at the standings right now, see where everybody's at. And as we head into next week's shows, which start out tonight with a big main event coming up tonight, you're going to start seeing the tournament shape up a lot more once we get to this time next week at the end of week 2. And here are the standings of where we are now. In the A block, we got pulling up the top, Bolton Oleg, Yota Tsuji, and yes, Evil, all with 6 points. Those guys would be going to the playoffs if the playoffs was being held today, but we got a lot more tournament to go on. But that's the log jam at the top, followed by Hiroshi Tanahashi, Taichi, Yuya Uemura, Ryohei Oya, and down at the bottom level, you have with 2 points, Callum Newman, David Finlay, and Sonata. Finlay, the most interesting person in that lower bracket now. He's going to have to pull some miracles to get into the playoffs, but the way things are lining up, you never know with the G1 Climax. And again, we have to remember this is Tanahashi's last year ever in the G1. So, it is not out of the question that Tanahashi could wind up winning, or at least getting to the playoffs, not winning a tournament. Obviously, I don't think he's going to do that. He might not even make the playoffs. Who knows? Over in the B block, things are a little bit more streamlined. Now, Gabe Kidd's injury has kind of thrown everything off. So, a lot of people are getting points that I'm sure it messes up the booking somewhat if they have a booking strategy as to make you feel like somebody's going to win when they're not by the point totals. It's a little thrown off here, but right now sitting at the top with 8 points each is Yoshihashi of all people and Ren Narita of all people. I doubt that's going to last the rest of the tournament. You never know again, but yes, it is Yoshihashi and Ren Narita leading right now in the B block with 8 points. Coming up behind them with 6 points, Konosuke Takeshita, Drilla Maloney, a surprise one in there, the great Okan, who had a great showing last year, and Shota Umino still hanging in there. Level underneath that at 4 points, we got El Phantasmo and the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion Zack Sabre Jr., who has not had a great tournament. Again, both champions here in the 3rd tier. And surprise, surprise, pulling up the rear, Shingo Takagi with only 2 points, and the 2 points he got is because Gabe Kidd had to forfeit. I'm not sure what's going on with Shingo. I don't know. Something's happening here. Let's see how he finishes out in the tournament. My eyes right now, Ren Narita has impressed me a lot in this tournament. Drilla Maloney has definitely impressed me in this tournament. Shota's showing more fire than he usually does. Konosuke Takeshita and Yota Tsuji, however, are the standouts. And of course, the story of Yoshihashi climbing his way up and the threat of the House of Torture of both Ren Narita and Evil leading right now in the tournament in their respective blocks. Little concerning there for all of us fans, but they do that on purpose. People I'm not impressed with so far. I was expecting a lot more out of Oiwa. We'll see what happens. Finlay is another curious thing. He's like Shingo on the other side. I don't know what's happening there. If they're planning just to have him win out. And Sonata at this point, I think, is settling into Yano territory, I guess. He is the one loss that Evil has so far. I wonder if that's going to come back to bite him in the butt, and if maybe that'll lead to something else in the future. But the tournament doesn't stop. It continues on tonight with the next round of action, and you've got some good matches coming up. Taichi and Sonata. I shouldn't have to say much more than that. That is a feud that's been brimming for a long time. That's the match I'm looking forward to most on the next night. You also got Yota Tsuji and Bolton Oleg, who the last time they met, it's been hit or miss with them. Sometimes they have amazing matches. Let's see if that happens again coming up the next night. Callum Newman and David Finlay in a must-win situation for both of them. Keep an eye on that one. Whoever wins that one, if Finlay loses that one, I'd be surprised. Uemura is taking on the King of Darkness, Evil, and Tanahashi again in the main event against Oiwa. Okay, it's Tanahashi's last year, man, but it's all good. So I want to know what you guys think. What do you think of the standings? Who do you think so far has impressed you? Who has surprised you? And can you kind of see a clear indication of who might be heading to the playoffs this year in the G1 Climax 35? Let your voice be heard in the comment box below. Until next time, I will see you guys here as we continue to look at the crazy, wild world of pro wrestling and sports entertainment right here on the Rant and Review Pro Wrestling. Have a good day.